Nikon has an impressive lineup of full-frame DSLRs, so their recent release of the D750 means that there's a new option with an interesting blend of features and a price point that's right in between their popular D610 and D810 models. Hi, I'm Larry Becker. Let's say you're interested in the impressive focus system and higher ISO of Nikon's full-frame D810, but you'd be fine with 24 megapixels instead of 36, especially if it means a $1,000 price break. That's a great description of the new Nikon D750. This is Nikon's newest full-frame camera, and its feature set puts it squarely between the two cameras I mentioned, the D610 and the D810. Let's look at what matters to somebody considering the D750, like image quality, low light performance, video capabilities, the autofocus system, and some firsts and standout features of the D750. The 24.3 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor is truly impressive. The colors and detail are beautiful, and with a nice piece of glass with a wide aperture, you can really flatten the depth of field for gorgeous portraits. I was able to access RAW files I shot by installing Adobe's Camera Raw Release Candidate 8.7 Beta, and because I'm used to a Camera Raw workflow for image processing, I can get a better idea of what's really being captured by this image sensor as opposed to being limited to judging just the results of in-camera processed JPEG images. The images look really great, and I'm always happy with Nikon's choices for how they handle color saturation. It's accurate, but none of the colors are too punchy like with some other camera makers. The smooth areas of subtle color were accurate and just what I'd hoped for. And all of the raw images I shot gave me a great starting point with good detail even in the shadow areas. And if you're not a RAW shooter and you just plan to use JPEG files, Nikon does a nice job with their standard JPEG processing. But the real JPEG strength of this camera is the highly adjustable in-camera processing variables. For example, not only are there 7 picture control profiles, including the recently introduced flat option, but you can seriously fine-tune those controls with the Manage Picture Controls menu option. Just because I prefer a RAW workflow for image processing, that doesn't mean that it's the best option for everybody. I can imagine photographers, especially those who shoot in the same kind of lighting on a regular basis, who'd prefer to spend a little time testing and then optimizing the in-camera processing so they can speed up their regular workflow after the shoot. With the D750, you can certainly have that option. But while I'm talking about in-camera processing and how helpful it can be, I should also mention that Nikon continues with a robust supply of in-camera retouching capabilities via their retouching menu. I imagine far fewer folks will be using retouching features. You can do all kinds of in-camera retouching on an image-by-image basis. It's just that in-camera image manipulation on a 3.2-inch LCD isn't really practical for most users. However nice they are, I would consider these to be wow features. Complementing the large sensor is the new XSpeed 4 image processor, which offers a native sensitivity range from ISO 100 to 12,800. That can be extended down to 50 or as high as 51,200. I generally don't use boosted ISOs because I'd rather shoot at the highest native ISO, in this case 12,800, and then brighten it up in post if necessary. And that high 12,800 setting still delivers usable images, especially if you can scale your image down a little bit to hide the softness that comes from fixing high ISO noise in RAW images. The 12,800 high mark is a full additional stop of light better than the capabilities of the D610, and so is the boosted 51,200 mark of the D750. Now, my reviews are not lab style, so I'm not going to make the claim that high ISO is better than or not as good as such and such a camera, but I will tell you it's really, really good. And as of the time I'm doing this review, 12,800 on this new Nikon FX camera is going to be better than any modern APS-C size sensor at that same ISO. Over the past couple of years, Nikon has really stepped up their HD video capture game, and there are some really solid HD capture capabilities with this camera. You can tell Nikon is reaching out to video pros with their D750 feature set. First of all, it can capture 1080 Full HD at 60p, 30p, and 24p, as well as the PAL standards of 50p and 25p. The onboard stereo microphone is nice, but pros will love that there's a mic and a headphone jack and live bouncing meters on the LCD while you're filming. There's a zebra highlight warning, and the video quality is just as good as what you'll get from the D810. And I'm happy to tell you that this is Nikon's least expensive DSLR that has their power aperture feature, like on the D810 and the D4S. Pro videographers often buy cinema lenses so that they can manually adjust the aperture of the lens on the fly during filming and have it look smooth without the obvious stepping that makes your exposure adjustments look unprofessional. Nikon's power aperture allows many non-cinema lenses to have their aperture adjusted smoothly during filming without those noticeable jumps or the noise caused by going through click stops. Just turn on power aperture and the multi-selector can smoothly make changes during filming. It doesn't work with all lenses, but it works with many Nikon lenses, and in my testing it worked well with the Nikon 24-70 f2.8 G ED lens I was using. Additionally, the D750 allows you to record uncompressed 422 8-bit video to an optional external recorder using the HDMI output. Simultaneous recording to both an in-camera memory card and an external recorder is possible, as well as using your LCD monitor during recording. One of the biggest enhancements over the D610 is the advanced Multicam 3500 FX2 autofocus system. It has 51 phase detection autofocus points. Of those, 15 are cross-type autofocus points, and 11 of those work at up to f8. That's going to really matter when you add a teleconverter along with a telephoto lens, and your starting f-stop is f8. The autofocus system can lock on at -3 EV illumination, and I was surprised how well it did in my low light testing. The D750 includes the new group area autofocus option that's kind of like single point autofocus, plus a little more surrounding points to benefit working with fast-moving subjects. And you probably won't be too surprised that there's autofocus point illumination in the viewfinder, plus the ability to store your focus point by orientation, so that all your verticals have one starting focus point while all your horizontal images are framed with a different autofocus point. This is Nikon's first FX DSLR with built-in Wi-Fi. You can use it to copy images from your camera to your Android or iOS smart device using Nikon's free wireless mobile utility app. And you can use that same app to turn on Remote Live View, where you can focus and snap pictures from your mobile device as well. You won't be able to make remote adjustments to the aperture or ISO or shutter speed like you can with some cameras with built-in Wi-Fi. I tested it with my iPad, and remote focus and shutter was fast, accurate, and the connection was incredibly easy to set up. Then, if you want GPS, that's an optional add-on. Now, so far I've mentioned that the D750 has a 3.2-inch LCD, but it's Nikon's first FX format DSLR with a tilting LCD. It tilts flat to 90 degrees for viewing from above and nearly flat for viewing from below. And the travel and hinges of this LCD feel very sturdy, like you'd expect with a pro camera. The burst image capture is rated at 6.5 frames a second. And with a Class 10 SD card, I was able to shoot 27 of the best quality, least compressed, highest resolution JPEGs before the buffer slowed me down, and then I got 16 full-frame RAW images. Of course, stepping down the resolution or compression quality will let you capture even more. And in my testing, I was really happy how consistent and accurate the autofocus lock was during that burst shooting. Speaking of multiple shots, there's a built-in time-lapse function with exposure smoothing for a more consistent look from shot to shot, and there's a multiple exposure option. But I was a bit disappointed that the limit is 3 shots per multiple exposure. On the other hand, if you want maximum control over your HDR images, which you post-process yourself in your computer, not using the built-in HDR capabilities, you'll love the fact that you can capture up to 9 images in a bracketed set. The D750 has dual SD card slots, and one of my favorite memory card features with every Nikon DSLR I've ever used, a simple, no menu needed, 2-button card formatting function. The D750 has a built-in pop-up flash that allows you to control it manually or adjust flash exposure compensation while taking advantage of Nikon's ITTL. And that same pop-up flash can be used as a commander to control off-camera CLS-compatible Nikon speedlights in ITTL groups. I like the locking shutter release mode dial and shooting mode dial, and advanced shooters will like that the mode dial has U1 and U2 positions, so you can pre-program your favorite exposure settings and jump right to them. With all the powerful performance features packed into this 24.3 megapixel FX camera, it seems like the only thing some pros might still want is a camera body that has a vertical battery grip with vertical shooting controls. No problem. Nikon makes the optional MB D16 vertical battery grip for the D750. Nikon's D750 is definitely a pro camera, but with enough comfort features to help novices along the way too. And that big, beautiful image sensor and host of video features at a sub $2,500 price point will sure be attracting an audience. For B&H and Kelby One, I'm Larry Becker. Thanks for watching.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.
Scott Kelby here, and welcome to this quick tour of our online training. We have hundreds of online classes for you, covering everything from lighting to landscape photography. From portrait photography to sports, we have classes on wedding, automotive photography, shooting, food, fashion, travel, you name it. The most incredible part of this is the price. You get all of this for just $199 a year, or you can pay monthly for just $24.95. 24-hour a day, 7-day a week access from anywhere in the world. I invite you to join with us today and start learning right now.